Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Valor Fire Training Equipment Reviews. We're going to talk about the Harris XL-185P portable radio. We switched to this about 4 years ago, and we have been absolutely blown away by its performance. As with all of our reviews, this isn't paid. I'm not getting a kickback from Harris to talk about their stuff. These are products that we've used in the field and that we believe in. So while there's a million different things about radio systems that we could get into, I'm just going to keep it pretty brief and to the point with the actual radio. But to give you a little bit of a backstory, we have traditionally always been Motorola where I work. I believe that we've been Motorola for probably like 25, 30 years. The state system that we opted to buy into is all Motorola. The actual infrastructure part is Motorola. And so we were just kind of told, hey, if you want radios, you have to have Motorola. And that worked for a while until they reached the end of life of our current radio products, which is the XTS series. So we had to make a decision. We were either going to go to the Apex or we could look at a different manufacturer. There's a bunch of political stuff that kind of went in. I'm not going to get into that, but we were able to put other radio brands on the Motorola system. I know some areas don't have the ability to do that. Luckily with our system, they were willing to make that happen. And so we went and looked at a couple different manufacturers and we landed on Harris. And the one thing about Harris that kind of blew me away, they're very well known in the military world. They have a lot of government contracts for that. But as far as public safety, it was kind of new to us. So we looked at their product and there were a couple things that stood out. One, their form factor and their radio is smaller and lighter weight than a lot of the other P25 800 megahertz radios that are on the market. So as far as the way that it fits in a pocket, the way that it pulls down on a pocket because of its weight, or if you have it on a radio strap, it's really amazingly light when it comes to that. The form factor is very small, and they took the time to look at a lot of different things that whether you're law enforcement or fire, they actually took some design features and said, okay, how can we make this applicable to that profession? So, for example, the radio knobs on this radio are designed for firefighters. When you purchase the radio out of the box, they're smaller knobs. So while they didn't change the whole entire radio, they changed certain things about it. So our speaker mic is designed specifically for the fire service. If you want a law enforcement microphone, you can get a smaller, not as ruggedized, I guess, speaker mic. So the other thing about the Harris radio that we really fell in love with is that when you buy it, it is fully stocked with every available option. And you might ask, well, why would I want a fully stocked radio if I'm not going to use some of those features? So the cool thing with Harris is that if you don't use a feature, they don't turn it on when you purchase it, and you don't pay for that feature. So, for example, this radio has AES encryption. We don't use any encrypted channels. There are surrounding agencies that do, but we don't have access to their talk groups. So for us, we didn't need AES encryption, so we didn't have to pay for it. But if you fast forward 3 or 4 years, something changes. We want to have an encrypted admin channel or a channel that's specific for a city. If we want to turn on AES encryption, it's as simple as taking it to the dealer, having them hook it up to the software, turn on the option, and we pay for it. So it was really cool for us to be able to look at all the different options that they had and know that whether we're going to use it now or in 5 years, we have the ability to turn that on. We don't have to buy new radios. We don't have to send it back to the manufacturer. And that was really big for us with the FirstNet option. When we started looking at these radios originally, FirstNet hadn't actually rolled out. It was still kind of a work in progress. Now that we are at the point where we're probably going to be on FirstNet within a 12 to 18 month period, this already has a SIM card slot built in. The radio platform is already there. The software is built. So really all we're going to have to do is buy a SIM card, pop it into the radio, have them program a couple things, pay for it, and we're on FirstNet. So it's going to be awesome for us to be able to do that. Even more than that, we chose not to go with the multi-band, but the XL-200P, which is their multi-band version, does actually come fully loaded with VHF, UHF, and 800 capability. So you have your option of picking two. We can have VHF and 800, you can have UHF and 800, any combination that you want. But if you're a system, not unlike some of those around us, maybe you're on UHF and your neighboring community uses VHF, and 4 or 5 years from now they go to 800. Well, normally you would have to either buy a new radio or you'd have to ask them for a radio to keep in your truck. Now you have the option of just going to your dealer and paying a fee to have that switched so that you have those bands available in your radio. So it was really cool. I think it's really unique to Harris and how they do it. Because with most manufacturers that we asked that question to, they said, well, if you want to change things, you have to send it back. We have to change out parts or boards. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to take you through a quick tour of some of the options that are available. And then we'll come back up top and talk about what that radio was able to do for us. All right, so as we go through the close-up, I wanted to talk about a couple things real quick. The radio itself is usually smaller and has a lower profile than most of the other radios on the market. We actually had to get smaller radio pockets on our gear to accommodate this, because otherwise the radio pocket was usually about here and you found yourself trying to dig for the radio. If you wear it on a radio strap, it's not a big deal. It usually hangs out of your coat, but the nice thing is that you actually get a little bit more clearance. So there's a million different things that I could talk about with this radio, but I want to talk about some of the main differences between it and the other manufacturers that they don't have. So smaller form factor is great. The other thing is that on all of the buttons, they're very tactile, so you can get a lot of click out of all the different buttons. But the one thing that kind of sets it aside is the color display. So with this color display, it makes it really nice to be able to see all the information that you need. It is a large character bank, so we can actually put in everything that we need to know as far as information. It constantly shows you your radio signal, your battery life, whether noise cancellation is turned on or off. So if you're familiar with a mobile radio where there's a lot more information than what's available to a portable, this one kind of bridges that gap. You have a lot of different information that comes across here. The other nice thing is that because it is a color display, both top and front, what we were able to do was customize the color scheme based on what type of channel you're on. So for example, this Fireground 1 channel is an analog, not trunked. And so we changed it to red so that visually our personnel know that they're not on the repeater system. If I was to go back to a trunked channel,
support 10.
It's going to change that to white so that they know anything that's white is going to be on the system. If anything is red, that means that they are not on the grid. And we made that match up with what's called fail-safe. So if we're in fail-safe mode, the radio is not transmitting all the time through the repeater, or could potentially not be transmitting through the repeater. So this will turn red. Our users know that they're not transmitting through the repeater system, and it visually indicates for them so that they are aware of that. The other thing is, as far as the speaker microphones, the speakers are located in front and back. And the reason why that's really cool on this radio is that you get a bulk of your audio through the front, which is larger and louder than most in the standards in the industry. And on the back, you actually have a subwoofer. So when I'm transmitting through the radio, whoever's receiving it on a Harris radio, they're going to get both treble and bass. So you get the whole gamut. And what it does is it actually makes a lot richer audio. So it's a lot easier to hear. When we get that tinny audio coming through a lower end speaker, it makes it really hard to be able to hear, especially with ambient noise in the environment. So speaking of ambient noise, when we talk about noise cancellation, this radio has 3 microphones that are located on the front. And what it'll do is it takes whichever one is receiving the audio the best, it will start using that one for the audio input. So if I am talking more predominantly into this one, it's going to use this, and it uses these 2 other ones for ambient noise. Vice versa, if I'm holding it like a cell phone and I'm talking down here, these 2 are going to become my noise cancellation mics. A lot of radios on the market right now have microphones that go all the way around, even on the back and the sides. What Harris has decided to do is keep everything to the front so that you only have one way to talk into the radio. And it makes it really nice. It's cut down on a lot of the background noise, and their algorithm does a great job of getting rid of any kind of feedback or outside noise. We've run it with chainsaws, vent fans, fire trucks, and we've never had an issue with not being able to hear or understand anybody. So that's kind of in a nutshell the main portable. When we get into the speaker mic, one of the really cool differences on this is that in order to transmit, what we're used to is a one-sided push-to-talk. Harris designed and made it available that you can have dual push-to-talk. This is programmable. It's a programmable feature where you can either have the right side, the left side, or both have to be depressed in order to transmit. So for example, I'm on Fireground 1. If I push on the left side, nothing happens. If I push on the right side, nothing happens. If I push on both, I'll transmit. And what that's done for us is cut down on the amount of accidental key ups. Listen, we've all been there. We've all dropped an F-bomb on the radio at some point in our career, or maybe thought we did. But it was actually really cool to be able to incorporate that feature. And it cut down a lot on the accidental trips. So in order to transmit, I have to consciously click both sides. And if I accidentally bump into something with equipment, it's not going to key up. So it's kind of a peace of mind thing. The emergency button up here, it's super clicky. We programmed ours for 1 second on, 3 seconds off. So if I hit it accidentally, it's not going to go off. I have to push and hold it for 1 second and then 3 seconds to clear. And it works flawlessly with our Motorola system. There's no issues there. The last thing I want to talk about real quick is that the speaker is actually designed for being in the orientation on your chest. So whether I have it sideways or vertically, horizontal or vertical, it's going to project sound up and out. So that's why they made the curvature of this. And what it really does is I can have this on my radio strap, and I don't constantly have to pull it up towards my head to be able to hear what's going on. A lot of us will have to change the orientation or twist it in order to get the audio to come towards us so we can hear. With this, the audio automatically goes up and forward, and it makes it really nice. So speaker mic is super durable, rated for 500 degrees plus, including the cord. So it is very rugged. It is designed for the fire service. Color options, you have school bus yellow, as I call it. There's black, and now they also offer a fluorescent green. So it's not quite the same color as the Motorola's, but it is a very similar green fluorescent color. We opted to go with yellow just so that it was a little bit more visible day and night. They came out with the green after we'd already purchased these. Otherwise, we probably would have gone with that. So these are just a couple of the options. There's a lot of other stuff that we can dive into. If you want more information, I'll put a link to some videos on YouTube and also Harris's website so you can find out a little bit more about some of the customizable options. All right, guys, so like you saw in the close-up, there is a ton of functionality to this radio. I only went into about 1/10 of the functions that it has, but we've been really happy with it. There were 3 main reasons why we chose Harris. The first was customer service. We were really well received by customer service and our dealer. They were very responsive to our questions, got us the information that we needed, and that has continued throughout the 4 years that we've been with them. The second thing was durability. So the radios that we've had issues with, a cracked screen, a broken radio knob, that was going to happen no matter what radio we had. It didn't matter whether we had Harris or Motorola or Kenwood. The knob would have broken or the screen would have cracked regardless. So we haven't had any issues with screens going out or things not working. It's worked very well, and it's worked as designed. And the last thing was the flexibility. And I kind of touched on it earlier. You have the option of having a fully stocked radio that you can turn on and turn off things as you need them. So for us, when we looked at our radio system, and it's kind of outside of our control because we haven't designed the system, we're just kind of a participant in it. If they change something on us, we don't then have to go out and buy all new radios or send our radios in to get fixed. Literally, we can just call our dealer. They come out with a laptop. We can flash all the radios, and they'll turn on the availability of the function or turn it off. So made it really great for us to know and have the insurance that down the road, if something's going to change, it's not going to really affect us that much. So if you guys have more questions, you can check out Harris's website. They also have a YouTube channel where you can go see some of the technology that they use. And as always, you can shoot me an email, david@valorfiretraining.com. And I'll get you whatever information I can. Until the next time we talk, take care, be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.